I created checkmate threats without a queen. This is round 4 of the Sacramento Championship in Sacramento, California. And I recorded this video, but I forgot to have my mic not on mute. So now I have to re-record it. And this is game of 90 plus 30. And this is a no engine recap until the very end of this video. But that means that even though I forgot to have my audio on the first time, this is still a really, really exciting game. And I'm excited to show you. So I played e4, he played c5. So my last game, and in my last round I played knight of 3, and it was a draw against the 1600. And I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm done playing knight of 3. I gotta play e4 and play for a win here. And my opponent obliges and plays c5, combative approach. We know this game is gonna be exciting from the first move, most likely. And I play knight c3. I like to play this move too. And against knight c6, I play bishop e5, trying to take the knight and then play on the light squares. That's the goal. He plays knight d4, jumping out of the way of the attack of the bishop and attacking the bishop itself. I play knight of 3, just developing. So far I have 3 pieces developed. He only has 1, and he trades off one of my pieces. So now black has won the bishop pair, but at what cost? Now black is going to be behind in development. He plays g6 here, looking to fianchetto, and I just strike in the center with d4. He continues developing, which is probably the most principled approach. You know, if I take on c5, I have to be careful what happens if queen a5 check, and then, you know, attacking the knight, attacking the king, so I have to bring my knight back. And like, is this okay for me? Is it okay to give myself triple Icelandi's, but his dark squares around his king is you know, kind of weak? I have to contend with that. Also, you know, you don't always want to trade off your d pawn for their c pawn, and you know, this pawn on c5, you know, if my pawn becomes that pawn, it's pretty weak there. So is that really the best way to play? Well, I play e5, kind of blocking the bishop's vision on d4 with the e5 pawn, and I've seen this position before. He gives a check, I bring it back. This is the only move. I annotated some of the moves, although in this case, I wonder if it's from the game review. I'll be honest, I forgot if this was my annotations or the game review's annotations. I think it's the game review's annotations because this is the only move, so I wouldn't call it a great move. Okay, he took on d4, I took on d4, and now, you know, his bishop and queen are both lined up on the c3, on the knight on c3, so he plays d6, you know, so because I can't take because it's pinned. And so now this is a big question of white's position. Just like, okay, well, how, like, okay, you know, white's ahead in development. But so what? Like, so what at the end of the day? Bishop f4 might be okay. I forgot why I didn't like this. Maybe black can go like bishop g4 or something like that to try to remove a defender of the e5 pawn. So yeah, this could be good. And you know, and white is still pinned at the end of the day. So yeah, this could be a good way for black to play. So I get out of the pin by playing queen d5. So now, you know, the queen is eyeing, you know, the b7 and f7 pawns, is attacking black's queen. And, you know, if he doesn't want to trade and goes like queen b6 or something like that, well, I can go knight g5 here, attacking f7. And after like a move like knight h6, now I can take on d6 here and isolate a pawn. And so black has a bishop pair, but has a weakness on d6. So, you know, the game will just go on. It's just a chess game. So he didn't want that. So that's why he took on d5, but now I'm threatening a fork, and he decided king d7. That was the move that he was going to use to get out of it, and which is very kind of shocking to me a little bit, because I was like, oh yeah, you just, you know, king d8, then I can still take on d6, I can go knight g5, and then maybe knight e4, bishop f4, you know, like maybe even bishop g5 and then bishop f4. And I was like, oh, this is going to be too pleasant position. I was like, oh shoot, like he goes king d7. So now if I take the pawn, which I do in the game, he takes back with the king. This is definitely the game review annotations, which ends up being a mistake. He actually has to take back with the pawn to give shelter to his king, because his king gets too weak. His king gets way too weak. Despite him having a solid position, his king is really weak and is going to be subject to checkmate attacks. He plays, well, I play knight c3, which was apparently a mistake. I actually don't even know what I'm supposed to do, to be honest. I don't know why that was a mistake. I thought about playing c4, but I'd note it as an interesting move. This is my annotations. I thought it was very interesting because if he played a move like bishop f5, I could give a check, and then he could play e5, and then I could castle, but it's not it doesn't come with check, and he could maybe just take, and then I was just like, is this really okay? Looking at it now, I think it is definitely okay. Well, maybe not definitely, because if rook d8, bishop here, bishop c8 is the only legal move. Rook hd1. Yeah, this is probably very good. Yeah, I didn't calculate this far. After castling and taking, I didn't realize that like I might have this like rook d8 resource. And so in hindsight, maybe c4, just like keeping my knight in the center was a better way to play. And the reason why this is a mistake is because he can actually just take my knight and double my pawns. I would have loved this during the game. Like, I was actually hoping for this because, yes, I have the structural damage to my pawns, but I'm going to get my bishop in either on a3 or f5. I'm going to get my rooks in on b8 and d1 maybe. And then I'm just going to have pressure. And, yeah, we have opposite colored bishops, but we still have other minor pieces on the board. So I was actually kind of looking forward to this endgame, believe it or not. But this is actually his best shot. Like, he should take my knight, but he doesn't. He develops, which seems natural enough. But now it allows me to get. But now it justifies my idea of going bishop check, and now e5, which I list as a mistake. That's a huge, huge mistake because now I castle a check, and you cannot hang on to this e5 pawn. If you do, and he tries to, he goes king e6. Well, my original thought was like maybe knight g5 check, and if king f6. Then there's knight d5 checkmate out of nowhere. I also thought about, okay, well, what if I just like give away my knight temporarily and then go here? Well, no, f6 is not very good. So I actually thought for a long time in this position, probably at least 15 minutes, maybe more, and I played knight d5. Brilliant move. And my idea is, no matter what you do, I'm going to be either winning the e5 pawn or winning your rook. He could take my bishop, but then after a check, his king is stuck on the e file, and he can go back, and then I can take. And the fact is, your king is still super weak. If you go knight f6, I can give a check, and if you go back, I can go knight c7 here, and then try to go knight g5 and win your bishop pair, if not more. So the issue is that like black doesn't just lose an exchange if they take the bishop on f4, but the black's king is still very, very weak. If you go rook b8, I forget exactly what the move was. Why was I not? I think knight c7 check. Once again, if king f6, then bishop g5 is checkmate. So there's a checkmates out of nowhere, despite queens, not being on the board. And we just look at how all of his pieces are clumped together and how his king's the only one in the center. So he's very subject to attacks. Many attacks. I think I would have given a check after king e7. Maybe just take the knight on e5. And this is very similar to what happened in the game. I think he probably didn't go rook b8 because there's some discovered attacks with the bishop on f4. So he actually goes rook f8. Of course, if we go rook d8, then I can give a check. I guess give this check, I believe. And after king d7 or something like that, I can probably, I don't know which move order is best. I could probably just take the pawn on f7, and if takes, and if you take, then I can probably just go check here, and if you move your king, I can take, and take. So everything's winning. Everything is winning. He goes rook f8, and I go knight c7 check. Anyways, he goes king e7, and really, his king is really, really short on squares. Once again, if king f6 happened, then bishop g5 would be checkmate. And so I just take the pawn. I just take the pawn on e5 because I can. And now I'm going to bring the rook in, and it's game over. Rook c8. rook he1, another brilliant move, bringing my rook in, saying I literally don't care if you take my rook. At a bare minimum, I can go knight c4 check. If you go king f6, I can just take your rook, go back to e5, so I'm up in exchange and a pawn at a bare minimum, probably more than that. Your king is still weak, you still haven't finished development, there's nothing you can do. And so he goes king f8, just trying to get out of danger, but now knight d7 check, and after you take, I go bishop d6 check. I don't take back, I give a check first, so then now you're forced to give up another piece with check, and then I take your piece, and then, I'm just up a piece and a pawn, and it's simply game over. So after bishop d6, he resigns. And I won this game in 21 moves without queens on the board. Nicholas is a really nice guy, a Sacramento local, so glad I got the opportunity to play him. And he was the last person with a perfect score. I was entering this round with 2.5 out of 3. He had 3 out of 3. But after this round, I was tied first with 3 other people, which put me in a very good spot to win this tournament. So very important win for me for tournament standings. And yeah, with that, I'll leave it there. I will hit the game review, even though we did see some of the annotations, and we'll go from there.